Hello, and welcome to the Mild Opinion Podcast. I'm Luke,
Logan.
and today we're going to be talking about Harry Potter. So, if you didn't know, but you probably do know, there is going to be a new Harry Potter series, which is kind of like retelling the same Harry Potter stories as the movies, but it's going to be put into a high quality, high budget TV series sort of kind of deal rather than a movie. So obviously this is something that's going to take years and years and years to film. And I know they've already made special accommodations for these kids to go to school in a certain way so that they can still grow up and be getting education and stuff, which is great. This has already been something that's been kind of a little controversial in some ways. Um, and I think I see some pros, I see some cons to it, um, but that is the basis of why we're doing an episode on Harry Potter. But first, before we get more into the show stuff, because there's honestly not a ton to know about it yet.
Yeah.
We're gonna talk a little bit about the OG movies, the classic Harry Potter movies that people in our age range have grown up with for the longest time. So, I thought we could start off and just what might be kind of your ranking of the Harry Potter movies. And I mean the one through parts 1 and 2 of the seventh, not the Fantastic Beasts right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of tough for me because
Or you could just do top 3 or
I
top
feel
1.
like my biggest problem is that I know that a lot of people think that, especially the last two movies, are top tier, which that is when the story really comes a head on it. Which is also I liked all that. You know, I liked all of it. Every single bit of Harry Potter. I loved it growing up. But for me, most of the nostalgia that I have for Harry Potter was from the first 3 or 4 movies, because that was what I watched growing up when I was really young. I had it on DVD and stuff, so I had a box set of them, and I would always watch it and all that, whatever. I do think number one favorite movie for sure, though, probably Prisoner of Azkaban.
That is my number 1 as well.
Is it?
Yeah.
Fantastic news.
Prisoner of Azkaban, I think, stands out to me from the other ones because it's kind of I mean, it's still important in the large scale of things, but it's kind of its own unique kind of story to it, where it's not Harry's hunting down the teacher with the hidden artifact or whatever. It's kind of it's also, I think, the whole thing with Dementors is a different way to turn away from Voldemort's possessing somebody or trying to come back. This is kind of Harry dealing with his own sort of thing. And I also just think the whole Patronus and Professor Lupin and the Marauders map and stuff that is all so iconic to me.
I really do like Prisoner of Azkaban just for all the stuff everything that you mentioned. The Dementors are super cool. Professor Lupin's super cool. I mean, pretty much everything about it I really like. I do think another thing about that I really like is when by the time you get to Prisoner of Azkaban, that's when you can start to see I guess Harry kind of grown up a little bit. He's not as well, obviously just physically as well as mentally and the movies and stuff, character wise. He's starting to look a little older, seem a little mature than he was in the first couple of movies. You know what I mean? So it's kind of I don't know. I like that movie was the first of the Harry Potter movies that was I guess seemed more mature.
Yeah.
Than the other ones. There was stuff about all of them that were kind of, but it just seemed the characters were more mature, the story was more mature, there was more kind of spooky stuff to it as well.
Yeah.
I kind of appreciated that, especially as I was growing up and stuff. I was yeah.
Yeah. I think we talked about this as well at one point, that The Prisoner of Azkaban specifically. Like, all the Harry Potter movies have this to a certain degree, but The Prisoner of Azkaban specifically seems like a perfect, like, rainy day movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just, like, vibes and everything. And another thing I really like about the movie is not like as much in this movie, but like I think it's like a good capper of the story is Sirius Black. I
Mm-hmm.
really like him as a character, and I think like the whole thing with him and Lupin being close to like Harry's dad in the past, and like all of them having their, I think the term is animagus, like they're each like a different animal or whatever. I think that
Mm-hmm.
was like super cool. Um, so, yeah, I definitely do put Prisoner of Azkaban at the top because I feel like some the other ones are like dark in certain ways where it's like they're still definitely like Harry Potter, but then like the first two are like so long as
Mm-hmm.
well. So this one I feel like is the perfect like full dose of Harry Potter in like its most unique and also like at the same time kind of like its most simple way.
Yeah, I agree. I don't know. I also really like Order of the Phoenix.
Dude, that movie is so underrated.
I
I
agree.
don't know why, but also my favorite fight scene in the whole franchise is Dumbledore versus Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
That is like amazing. Even like when they get more into like a lot of action stuff in the last 2, 3 movies there, like that one stands out to me. Like
Mm-hmm.
that fight is amazing.
I agree. Well, and I feel like obviously when it comes to like Deathly Hallows, you get into like the climax of what's happening throughout the entire Harry Potter storyline and all that. But I feel like Order of the Phoenix was like a good like all right, it's establishing like this is where the story's going. There's still a lot of action, like you're invested. There's like a lot of like good storytelling as well as like just like oh yeah, like here's cool magic, here's like
Yeah.
cool action. You know what I mean? So I
Yeah.
think that's one of the reasons why I'm like all right, like I don't know. I feel like it's just like kind of like lore based. You get like
Yeah.
a lot of lore from it and stuff, which is really cool. Because I feel like part of the thing about Harry Potter that makes it so cool is not only the good story, but also just like the atmosphere. So
Yeah.
like when you get more Harry Potter lore, you're like as well as like the good story. You're like, all right, this is where it's at.
Yeah. And I also think with that one too, that's like when like you're starting to like really get like, man, the Ministry of Magic do not seem like the good guys, and you kind of start to get those like inklings of the fact that like Voldemort and the Death Eaters are like to some degree like all wrapped up in that and are just like working behind the shadows. And another thing I like about that movie, I think I'm right in saying this, is that Voldemort himself does not show up until like the end of the movie. Like you see like little bits and
Yeah.
pieces of him that are literally like pieces because it's just Harry feeling him out there. But I think in that movie, the way he is shown before he actually shows up is cool because like the last time Harry saw him is like in that graveyard thing with like Cedric, and then it's just like no, like here he's back and everything, and it's kind of like makes Voldemort in that seem like more of like just this like ominous threat that's out there doing these things, and it's also when Harry's the only one, Harry and like a select few know that this is coming, and everyone
Mm.
else is like, no, you're crazy. So that paired with like the vision sequences and everything, I think that makes that movie super cool.
Yeah, I agree. Um, who do you think some of your favorite characters are?
Well, I do like Harry, Ron, and Hermione. Like, they're like fun. They have like funny moments, and I think they're all like good protagonists. But to go into like the characters that I'm like that's like a cool character and stuff, I think my number one is probably Sirius Black.
Mm.
Just because I like his story. I like the way he is and how he's kind of like not so much like to Harry, not so much even like a strict parent, but he's kind of just like, yeah, like you have your dad's like kind of fun streak in you, and like he like sees that in him. So I think I always like that about Sirius, and also Sirius is just cool. And I'll throw one in there because I think he's an underrated villain. Is Lucius Malfoy? I feel
Mm.
like is a good, just like side villain that shows up sometimes. It's like Potter. But who? What about you?
Well, kind of like you said, like I like the main trio. You know, nothing wrong with them. Obviously, they're the main characters, so they get the most interesting stories, I guess, and like a big part of all of it is those three. But aside from them, I really have always liked, well, both Lupin and Sirius Black, just because my favorite movie. So I mean, I kind of got that.
Yeah.
And then also, I guess aside from like them, I really have always liked Hagrid.
Hagrid's awesome too. Yeah.
Just because like it's one of those things where like I don't know, he's a good dude. He always tries to protect everybody as well as like him. He basically just like the giant protective teddy bear kind of character, and I always really appreciated that. Like he kind of just seemed like a I don't know, cool character.
Yeah. Also
Underrated character.
Oh, he's definitely underrated. Also, though, like the flying motorcycle's awesome, and also the umbrella one are both super cool.
Yeah.
I just remembered one more that I think is like a super cool character, in like both ways that he shows up. Is I think Mad Eye Moody is an awesome character. Both the guy pretending to be him and the actual one. Because, like, he's so, like, gruff and, like, we gotta, like, gotta stop the Death Eaters. I think in the fourth movie, when it's the guy pretending to be him, that guy's a good villain for that movie, just kind of like a secondary bad guy. And it's, like, a good way to show you kind of, like, how truly dangerous the, like, high lieutenant Death Eaters are. And that he literally fooled everybody for the longest time and like nailed just acting like a lunatic to fit Mad Eye. But I really like the whole like long trench coat and the eyes. So entertaining to watch. If you watch, it's just like sometimes just like spinning around and like looking at stuff. So I think I like Lupin definitely as my favorite, like, Defense Against the Dark Arts teacher, and I'm honestly, like, every time I see that movie, I'm like, he's actually, like, a good teacher to you, too. The rest of them are, like, lunatics, but, I'd say, yeah, Lupin and Sirius Black are my favorite, probably favorite two. I don't have, like, a ton of characters I just, like, outright hate, other than, like, Umbridge.
A character that I can't even say hate, just because like I can't really hate him just because he was very important to the story, and he had some redeeming qualities, and like the plot twists and stuff with him was cool, but just I don't know, I never really liked Snape, just because which I guess that was part of it, is like they wanted you to hate Snape for like the longest time.
Yeah.
So like, but then again, like I don't know, his storyline was cool. But even then, him himself, he wasn't cool. You know what I mean? Like, I don't like him.
Yeah. He's kind of, like, slimy and, like... He is just a mean guy.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, and, like, they gave him, like, the whole storyline that, at the end, that, like, was kind of redeeming because he was, like, in love with Harry's mom and all that.
Yeah.
Which, you know, cool. But also, that doesn't make up for him kind of being a wiener for most of it. You know what I mean? Like, he's just not great.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. Like, the stuff with him at the ending is great because it's like, oh, like, you can then piece together a bunch of ways that he was, like, protective of Harry. And that's, like, a cool twist to it, and it's kind of, like, show you, like, how much he actually, like, trusted Dumbledore and stuff. Also, another great character is Dumbledore.
Yeah.
I can't believe I glossed over him. But yeah, he's definitely not my favorite. But yeah, to jump over there, two characters that I can't believe I just glossed over here. Dumbledore is awesome all the time.
Yeah.
Even when he's like passed on and like you learn even more about him, it's like, dang, he's just like a crazy powerful dude. And Neville Longbottom are both
Neville
awesome.
the goat.
Yeah, Neville, like, like for the longest time, he's just like kind of like goofy and like the butt of a joke and stuff. But then
Yeah.
when you like learn a little bit more about him, he's kind of like you can like take him a little bit more seriously while still having him be funny. And then in the last movie, when he's just like absolutely critical to everything that's going
Yeah.
on. Oh, and one more I'll pair into those three. I've always thought Professor McGonagall was awesome.
Yeah.
She's just
Yeah.
like, I don't even, yeah. What can be said about that? She's just cool.
Just awesome. Yeah.
But yeah, let's go ahead and jump over here to. Oh, well, actually, first, real quick. Out of those movies, what do you think is your least favorite?
That's hard because they're all objectively good movies.
They are. I can tell you what my least favorite, and I'm not saying it's even the worst one. It's just my least favorite. Is probably the Half-Blood Prince movie, but I say that only because I've read the book of that,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's one of the better books. And it's just the movie is like kind of like they took a huge chunk out of all the context of what's going on.
Yeah.
Which I think hurt it. I still watch the movie and enjoy it, but I'm like watching it and I'm like, oh man, I wish they talked about this and showed you that and all that.
Yeah, I would agree. I would probably say that's my least favorite. But I feel like the reason that I think that's my least favorite is just, I don't know. I feel like with that one, it's not as much of like anything that I'm like, oh yeah, like that's what's happening. Like I'm so into that. Like, and also I feel like that was like the one where it's like you learn some like context of like, I don't know, some like the background story stuff like Snape and stuff like that. But I'm not like, I didn't learn enough like story wise. Like there was so much other stuff going on that wasn't inherent to like the main story that I'm like, dang, that was awesome. I got a lot out of that. It's kind of just like, okay, I learned a few things. It was a Harry Potter movie.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, that's it.
It's kind of just like, the movie I feel like does feel like a way to kind of just like turn it up a notch before it gets to the Deathly Hallows movie. So like everything kind of like, not like the quality of the movie, because I think it's still a good movie.
Yeah.
But like everything's kind of like decaying, and like the ministry's like obviously like starting to fail, and like people are dying, and Death Eaters are attacking muggles and stuff. So it's definitely like an escalation movie, and it gives you some context as to everything that's going on, but it's just not my favorite of the movies. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm like going through those movies, because I usually do maybe once a year or so, that's definitely not the one that I'm like, oh, I can't wait for this one.
Yeah.
And I'll say one that I think is very underrated, but just because I think it's really an interesting movie and it kind of like is a step out of the norm in a different way, is the first Deathly Hallows movie. I think is underrated because I enjoy how it's like, all right, let's break away from Hogwarts in like the most chaotic time possible and just like show you how the world is reacting to everything that's going on, and I really appreciate that.
Yeah, I think the first Deathly Hallows is really good. I think that my only issue with that is that like I think it's cool seeing how like everybody's like reacting to what's going on and all that. But then again, I'm like, it kind of like takes me out of, I guess, like the realm of, I don't know, just because it's like away from like Hogwarts and stuff. And like, I feel like a big part of like Harry Potter in general is like we talked about earlier, the atmosphere. You know what I mean? Like you feel like it's the wizarding world of Harry Potter. You know what I mean? Like you're into it, and I don't know. I guess just the first Deathly Hallows kind of just takes me out of that a little bit. Which, story-wise, it's up there, you know what I mean? It's pretty good.
Yeah.
But, like, vibes-wise, not as good as some of the others.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of, like, where I'm, like, at on it. Like, I don't hate it. I just don't love it, you know? Like, it's fine.
No,
I wouldn't say it's bad at all.
That definitely makes sense, what you're saying about, like, the whole vibe thing. That one has definitely its own vibe, but it's not, like... I'd say yeah, it's not like the classic Harry Potter vibe. It's kind of like a dark, dreary, kind of like end gamey vibe of like
Yeah.
all of this needs to wrap up, and I think they wrap it up well.
Yeah.
Like it's not like rushed or anything, and it's one movie where it actually doesn't bother me the trend of like a part one, part two deal, because I think it gives like they're both action packed movies too, and like maybe part one has a few slower moments in it, but then it also gives them the opportunity to be going full throttle in the finale. So I think it didn't really take me out of it that it did that.
Yeah, and I agree with that because I feel like that's one of those things where, like, where you were at, like, at that point in the story, it kind of just needed to be two parts to get everything that you needed out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Without it being a 5 hour long movie.
Yeah. Yeah, because I think at the very least to accomplish it the way they did, they needed it to be at least probably 3.5 hours.
Yeah.
So yeah, that would have been a little rougher, but yeah. So for a little bit here, I want to talk about the show that's coming. I can see some, like I said, I can see some pros to it, but I have more where I'm just like, the first round of movies that are kind of hold up to me is like that will always be Harry Potter movies to me.
Yeah.
And this is a show, so I think they said the intention is like to go way more into like fleshing out everything that happens in the books and whatnot. But at the same time, I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna watch the show and think it's better because those first round of movies are just always gonna be like iconic and like nostalgic to me. And with that, I like went and saw, I think starting with like the Order of the Phoenix movie after, or with starting with that one and then beyond that, I think I started to go see each of them in theaters. So like I have memories of doing that, and I'm not like over the moon of being like, man, we need our Harry Potter reboot already. It just feels like it's really, really quick.
Yeah. Well, and I feel like one of those things is, I'm not going to come out and be like, oh, yeah, like, I'm not going to like that just because,
I don't think so, yeah.
I'm going to give it, its fair shot. But also, I kind of feel that same way where it's like, man, like, my Harry Potter, when I think of Harry Potter, I think of the movies, the classic nostalgia, like, that's, like, my Harry Potter. And also, just, it doesn't help the show's case at all that I think all of those movies in general are, like, really good, really high quality. They kind of hold up today, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
So, like, I'm like, there's nothing wrong with those. If I want Harry Potter, that's what I would want to go for. I think what the show can offer is that, like you said, since it's a show, they can go more in depth into, like, book accurate types of stuff. I think they can go into like more atmosphere building because each episode's going to be longer than a movie would be.
Sure.
To get like those storylines across. So I think that's one of those things that's like fans of Harry Potter and like the world of Harry Potter and all that and like the lore and stuff will benefit from getting to see more of that kind of atmosphere, more of the magic, more of this, more of that in detail,
sure.
Which is cool. I will say that I've seen some of the cast and stuff like that, and I get that they're trying to make it accurate, and like that's fine. I know, well, not all of it's accurate because I know that people have had some
beef with some of it, yeah.
Yeah, but I know like as far as like the kids, like the younger kids and stuff.
Yeah.
As like the main trio and all that, like they want to be accurate because I think in the books the age range was from. In the first one they were all like 11, I think, and then by the end of the main storyline they were 17. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so like I get how they're trying to format it to where they're gonna have these young kids and they'll age like they do in the books throughout it.
They're literally like they're like gunning it. They're gonna be like, all right, one is done. Because I don't know if I like over embellished this in my mind. I think I saw a thing where they were specifically building like a school for like kid actors like down the street from where they're gonna be shooting all of this, so that they could just be like, okay, like go to my lesson, go to my afternoon shoot, come back, do a little more work, go home, which is like crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, going back like to what you said, this is where I see like the benefits of it is I feel like, specifically with Harry Potter 4 and Harry Potter 6, I think the movies, especially Harry Potter 4, feels like a very rushed version of what happens in the books, because in the books I feel like it's way more, it's just like kind of honestly like darker, and they do a better job of like kind of the hard introduction of like Death Eaters and like the Ministry and the whole like final battle and everything. But in the sixth book, there's so much context to Voldemort and like Death Eaters and Slytherin and stuff that they use. I forget what it's called. The thing that Dumbledore and Harry use to like view past events. They like go to so many more places with that, and it adds a lot to Voldemort.
Mm-hmm.
And just in general, the movie Voldemort is way different from the book guy. Because the book guy is, in my head, like what I perceive him to be is way more like sinister, but he's more like calm and like kind of like calculating, and he also is more so like less, he like toys less with Harry. Like he's more so like, this boy has to be destroyed right now, instead of like being like, pick up, or like, come on Potter, like let's do a dance, like kind of deal. But yeah, my main thing is just, I think it's a bit soon, and I'll give it a fair go. I might enjoy it like a ton, but I think even already, and I could eat these words, but I think those movies, actually no, I'll always love those movies because they were like a part of growing up. I think in my heart I will always pick the movies over the show, no matter like how high quality the show ends up being.
Yeah. I think one last thing that kind of is going to bother me, I feel like, maybe it won't, but I just feel like I'm going to have a hard time getting into like the story of like, you know, what goes on to Harry Potter, because like obviously we already know what the story is, at least, you know, for most of it. I know they're trying to be as accurate as possible, and I get that. I'm going to have a hard time following this story while watching a bunch of kids who look that young and will, you know, seem that young. I'm like, this is like a lot to just watch little kids do. So I'm like, I don't know. I just feel like I'm not going to love it watching a bunch of really young, like, little kids on the screen the whole time. Dude. So for, like, such a mature concept, I guess.
Probably about 2-3 years into it.
Yeah. Like, and it's just,
grow.
like, it's just going to look like real, like, legit little kids.
Yeah. Which, you know, I guess that's, like, part of the point, but I'm also... Yeah, because also, like, in general, the first book itself is very just, like, kind of, like... supposed to be kind of, like, charming, easy, simple, kind of, like...
Yeah.
All introduction to, like, all of this, so it is very much, like, here's a very easy explanation for, like, a bigger concept that is then later expanded on.
Yeah.
In a lot of this stuff.
I don't know. I just feel like watching, I mean, they're literal children who are, like, going about it, doing all this stuff. Like, it's going to feel like, I don't know, it's not, I guess, mature enough for what the audience is going to be. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Just because, like, I feel like the majority of it is going to have a bunch of little kids on the screen with, like, adult companions. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. I just don't really know how that'll play out, like, on screen. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Like, I don't know if it... I just don't want it to feel too childish, I guess.
Sure. Well, yeah, that's... I can appreciate that too. But I think that's all I've got on.
Yeah,
Harry
that's all
Potter.
I got on the matter.
All right. Well, this has been the Mild Opinion Podcast. Thank you very much for listening. We'll see you next time.